Morning Achievers, Ajit Sidhu here. Today I just want to talk about emotions. In my life at the moment, I'm going through a lot of, emotions can be positive and negative. So in my life at the moment, I'm feeling overwhelmed because I've got so much work on, and people don't understand how much work someone can have or someone can take on, but we just always have to be moving forward. And what happens is sometimes when we take on too much, a flood of emotions appears, which at this moment of time I have been feeling overwhelmed. And from there I've assessed it, I've looked at it, I've assessed it, and I wanted to just share with yourselves and for a record for myself as well, what I've done and what we should all do. So emotions are, when people think about emotions, they all naturally think of negative emotions, just because the media floods everyone's minds with so much negativity and so much sadness, so much, even Facebook and all social medias, they flood you with so many different stories that are not positive. So we naturally, as humans, go towards an emotion of negativity, and we have to train ourselves to have positive emotions. And that's something that a lot of people don't know. When you ask a question or you hear someone talking and they say, "Oh, how's your day?" "Oh yeah, it's all right. It's okay. It's okay." Naturally, the other person says, "Oh, what's wrong?" Because they want to know what's happened. Why are they upset or why are they down? If someone goes up to someone and says, "Oh, how's your day?" and the other person goes, "It's absolutely awesome," the person who's asking is going to think that guy's a freak and I'm not going to ever speak to him again. However, if we assess our emotions, we can be the ones that say life is absolutely awesome. Just because once we realize what emotions are, and this is the key, because everything in life is just about awareness. Once you know, you have no excuse not to do. So here it goes. Let's go down the rabbit hole. Emotions. Emotions are kind of like your very own sports commentator. When you watch football, or you watch a martial art program, or any program on TV, there's always a commentator telling the viewers every single move that someone is actually doing. And the emotions are your very own commentator. So when you are feeling happy, when you're feeling overjoyed, when you are feeling ecstatic, all of those awesome words, that's your very own sports commentator in your head saying, "This is pleasurable, keep doing this." That's all it is. And we carry on doing it until we do something, or we speak to someone, or we see something that starts making us feel negative emotions. And now the negative emotions is our commentator in our head again saying, "Whoa, don't like this. Don't like it. Not pleasurable. This is actually pain." So if you're speaking to someone, as I mentioned previously, there's always two forms of communication. One is a loving communication, which is always pleasurable. The other form of communication is a cry for help. However, when someone's doing a cry of help to us, what we tend to do is start shouting back, screaming back. And this goes to children as well. Children, children, when they are crying for help, they're usually crying and screaming and throwing things around. But one thing that we all forget, all the achievers, all of us, were children once. And we just covered that emotion with a layer upon layer upon layer, like an onion. So when you peel an onion, you have so many layers, and right at the core is our own, very own little baby self. That's what we're going to call it, baby self. So when we are feeling these emotions go back to our baby self. And when we are our baby selves, what we tend to do is we think, no, I don't want to feel this. And you get down. Just like how I felt with overwhelm, where with all the information, all the work that has come from all the different businesses and all the stuff that I'm trying to do to move myself forward, it sometimes does become overwhelming, especially when you want to spend time with your family, with your wife, with your children, and sometimes you can't, because you know you're going to fall behind. And that's when overwhelm hits. But the overwhelm is the commentator in your head saying this, the reason why you're feeling overwhelmed is because you've taken on too much. Let's get rid of all the stuff that you don't need to do, pass all the stuff to someone else that you don't like to do, and do the stuff that is going to push yourself forward or make you money or allow you to achieve. That's the thing that you need to concentrate on. That's all the brain is saying. That's what overwhelm is. If you're feeling sad, the commentator in your head is basically saying, stop. Let's change this. Let's change what you're doing. Why is this making you sad? Okay, so how can you become happy? And then all of a sudden, if you change your body, your focus, you have chosen your focus already because you've asked a better question by saying, how can I make myself happy? And naturally, our brain will say, oh, I can do this. My brain naturally would say, go to the gym. That's where I am. That's my office. This is my office. I'm a powerhouse. So that is where the brain, your personal commentator will always say, do this. And it's up to us to actually do it. So we do need to always be aware of what our personal commentator, our sports commentator, our life commentator is actually saying to us. If it's pleasurable, the commentator is going to say, keep doing this. This is awesome. If it's not, the commentator is going to say, whoa, just stop. That happened to me personally, so I'm just going to quickly tell you a quick story about a personal time in my life. So when I was younger, anyone that knows me, they know that I was a bit of a chubby kid. Used to love food, used to eat quite a lot, wasn't too confident, but was very strong. Just because I had some kind of growth spurt as well when I was smaller, but I was very strong. And anyone that does know me, and I've mentioned this in my previous Facebook lives, I lost my voice, and my confidence was shattered. My confidence was completely destroyed when I went with my father to India to gain confidence, and this was at the age of 11. I actually went with my father to gain confidence because he was going to India and I wanted to go with him. So I left my mum and my sisters behind, and I went. And that story is a separate story, which I can mention at a different time, or just go back and see it. However, my confidence was completely destroyed. Nobody would understand me when I came back. And going through so many different procedures to actually trying to get my voice back for people to understand just made me feel so upset. And I never voiced this. I couldn't voice it at that time. But I never spoke about this emotions until this year. I never even spoke about my lack of the 6 years that I went through, for the lack of voice that I had. to anyone until May this year, May 2018. So I must have buried it somehow. I must have completely buried it. And this year, going through a life-changing process, I've unburied it. But at that time, what was happening to me was I was getting into so many fights. At school, I was fighting like 3 or 4 times just because the people wouldn't understand me. Every time I would try to speak, they would not understand. They would start, as children do, start taking the mick, start making fun of me. And because I was slightly bigger and stronger, I used my fists and to communicate effectively. Not the best method. However, there was a time when, so with myself at that time, all I wanted to do was to be understood, number one. But the main thing that I actually wanted was to be liked by my friends, and to be part of a group. At that time, I always felt like an outsider, just because everyone else could talk, everyone else could communicate, and I couldn't. However, people were still my friends. They weren't completely mean to me, because I think I was just bigger and stronger. Anyway, I had a situation where I had a huge argument with my older cousin at the age of 12, I believe. And well, he was arguing with me, and I was kind of trying to communicate to him, and then I tried to shout. And when I say I didn't have a voice, the sounds used to come out, but it used to be so muffled, and it was almost like my vocal cords had been destroyed and non-existent. And the fear of losing the fight was my sports commentator saying, this is a scary situation. You're going to fight your bigger cousin right now. You're going to lose, and you're going to get hurt. And this is a fear that every single person will probably feel if they're having a conflict, when they hit a wall or a challenge. It's either going to be fear, it's going to be overwhelm, it's going to be, even if it's like public speaking, it's going to have that emotion. You're going to have that emotion. And when you feel that emotion, that's your sports commentator. That's your life commentator saying, you got to make a change. Are you ready? And so I had to make a change. I made a change. Luckily, we didn't have a fight at that time. But I went home, I was fuming, I was so angry. Again, my emotions saying, you weren't able to win. Why weren't you able to win? Or why weren't you able to defend yourself? And the answer that eventually came to was, maybe I need to practice before I have a fight. Because at this moment in time, I'm just using my pure strength. And that's when I joined Taekwondo, martial arts. And the reason why I emphasized the last part was because everybody goes through that same point. Everybody gets to the point where they have that fear of public speaking, or moving into a new job, or even having a baby. That's really scary. And when your partner speaks to you about having a baby, men especially, whoa, let's go on holiday first. Let's go. My excuse was, let's go on Hawaii, and we went to Hawaii. So I delayed it by a year, which now, having children, I wish I hadn't. But that's what happens. You hit that point. If it's something that you want to do, you want to achieve something, your life commentator will say, whoa, just stop. Here's the fear emotion. But fear, as it stands, false evidence appearing real. It's not real. But what fear is an emotion to say, let's get ready. And that's what I did. I went into martial arts, start getting ready, thinking I'm going to beat my cousin, I'm going to do this, and anyone that comes along, I'm going to fight, because I had just had that pent up aggression. And so going through a lot of training and finally achieving my black belt, I did get into a situation where, not with my cousin, me and my cousin, we made up, as you always do, as boys do. But I got into a situation where somebody came to challenge me. The fear came about again. And that's when I thought, wait a minute, life commentator, what you're trying to say now? But because I had practiced, and I had practiced, and I had practiced, the life commentator was actually saying, whereas before it would be like, fight, was actually saying, you know how to fight now. You don't need to use this at the moment. Let's resolve it in a different way, which is more pleasurable for both. And that's where negotiating and talking and resolving things and keeping peaceful and with that guy I was just about to have a huge conflict with, we became very good friends. And that's where we always need to be aware of what a life commentator is actually saying to us. If they're actually saying, this is pleasurable, this is great, then do it. But if you're feeling depressed and sad, or all the negative emotions, can't think of all the negative emotions, I don't tend to think of the negative emotions, sad, angry, overwhelmed, depression, any other ones that people do, it's our life commentator actually saying, don't. Let's stop. Let's stop. Make a change. Figure out why you're feeling like this and how you can feel the other way. And then just by asking a better question, a better result comes out. So, a bit deep, something that I've assessed over the last day or so. The reason why I've been feeling slightly overwhelmed is because with my business, Banana Moon, the 2 Banana Moons, it's November, December, which means it's a lot of Christmas stuff that we have to think about, but January is going to be coming in, which is a big influx of new potential children. But on top of that, we're making huge changes within the business to move things from the 20th century, that's where most businesses are still, the brick and mortars, to the 21st century, which is more technology based. But not only that, like anyone that does know me, I've enrolled in a 30-day challenge on learning a whole completely different new industry about the internet, and that's where a lot of the concepts that I'm getting from is going back. I'm taking them back into the brick and mortar business, and doing that along with the holiday seasons coming up, and I wanted to spend time with my children, which is always priority, and with my wife, which is always priority. It can become overwhelming, but that's just a life commentator saying, stop, prioritize, make a change. How can you do it? And the answer my life commentator has basically said is, get rid of the stuff that doesn't matter, give all the stuff that you don't like to someone else, and focus on the things that will move your business, move your life, move yourself forward. And that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to finish there. So be great, add value to people's lives, keep loving each other, and focus, be aware of what your life commentator is actually saying. And I love you guys. See you later.